changes?
What about Fulchester? Well, like I said, a lot of it's gone.
Did that make you nostalgic for the past?
No, love, I'm not the sentimental type. I never did go for things just because they're old. I go for the modern stuff. Function, you know. Sort of thing we're building back home.
So you think of Australia as home now, not England?
Home? Christ knows where that is now. Without Elaine.
Yes, I know about your wife. You do have my sympathy, Mr. Macdonald. Tell me, as a businessman, how...
If it hadn't been for that bloody convent, she'd still be here, do you know that?
Mr. Macdonald, I'm sure we all feel...
Because, girl, I want you to know that a fake and a fraud like Peter bloody Croft running around free and my sweetheart dead... Well, I'm here to tell you it's a bloody crime. That rotten bastard wants...
And this is Mike Brady welcoming you on Radio Fulchester with you from 3 through 5 of the clock, bringing you some newies, some oldies.
Peter Croft, a faith healer, claims that he was libelled in that radio interview by the defendant in this case, Harry Macdonald. The jury has been selected from members of the public whose names appear on the electoral register and who are eligible for jury service. The defence opens the case.
Now that, Mr. Macdonald, was a recording of a radio interview of September the 27th, 1976. Can you identify the voices in that recording?
Yes, one of them's me, the other's Jill Barrett, the interviewer, and I never met the DJ.
Yes, the interview took place on Radio Fulchester, is that correct?
Yes. My sister Reen, she taped it. Chuffed to blazes she was, me being on the radio.
Yes. Why were you asked to do the interview?
Local boy makes good, that kind of guff. I wasn't all that keen on it, but Reen got a kick out of it, so I said okay.
Yes, you were aware that the interview was to be broadcast live, that it wasn't to be pre-recorded.
Yeah, didn't worry me none. I'd done 1 or 2 bits and pieces for the local radio station back home.
So you were quite happy to go along to Radio Fulchester and answer their questions?
Well, I don't know that happy is the word I'd pick. Like I said, I only did it to please Reen.
Yes, but you were quite calm. You weren't disturbed or nervous in any way.
I object, my lord. My learned friend is leading the defendant.
Oh, I don't think so, Miss Dunwoody. The witness has already indicated that he was in no sense worried by the interview. Mr. Parsons is merely confirming that fact.
Very well, my lord.
My lord. Now, Miss Macdonald, you were born in Fulchester and you spent the first 26 years of your life here, and then in May 1965 you emigrated to Australia. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was this your first visit back to England?
And last.
Yes, just answer the question simply, Mr. Macdonald. It'll save a lot of time and trouble.
Sorry, my lord. It was our first trip back, yes.
Yes, and your wife accompanied you?
It was for her sake we came.
How is that?
To get help. Oh, my wife was paralysed. She was a cripple.
Yes, and how did that happen?
Horse riding. She went out one morning on a horse, Glory Boy, and... Anyway, Glory put his foot in a rabbit hole and went down, and Elaine was thrown, and that was it.
Yes, your wife was an expert horsewoman.
Oh, hell yes, it was just bloody bad luck.
Yes, Mr. Parsons, your client will do himself no service by embroidering his evidence with colourful language. Shall we try to delete the expletives, Mr. Macdonald?
Sorry, my lord, I didn't mean any disrespect. It's just a bad habit with me. I'll try and watch it.
My lord. Now, riding was your wife's hobby, Mr. Macdonald, but she was, in fact, a professional ballet dancer, was she not?
One of the best. I mean, I'm no expert, but those who were said she had a great future. I was proud of her. She was really something.
Yes, so effectively this accident ended everything that meant anything to her.
Yes, except our marriage. She knew she had me. She knew she always would.
Quite. Now, Mr. Macdonald, what medical advice did you seek?
Well, after she came out of the hospital, you mean? Well, I took her everywhere to see top neurosurgeons, orthopaedic surgeons, everyone.
With what results?
Well, they all said the same thing, my lord, that she'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life.
I see, yes.
My lord, what was your wife's reaction when she was told that she would be a paraplegic?
What the hell do you expect? She was depressed, wasn't she?
Yes.
And then, after a while, she began to fight back.
How did she fight back?
She wouldn't give up hope. She said, the doctors don't know everything.
Yes. And then did something happen that made you both decide to come to England?
Answer to a prayer, it looked. My sister Reen always sends me copies of the local rag. Fulchester Gazette. Likes to think it keeps me in touch, bless her. Anyway, there was this great spread about a faith healer and the miracle cures he was doing. People who'd been written off by the medical quacks, like Elaine. It was happening here in my own hometown. It seemed worth a try.
Yes. The newspaper article is an agreed document, my lord. The date of the article was Friday, June the 11th, 1976.
Oh, yes. The Fulchester Gazette, yes. A weekly publication, is it not?
It is, my lord. And on the 5th of August, 1976, did you and your wife travel to England?
That's right.
Was your wife in a fit condition to make what must have been a very long and arduous journey?
Well, it was quite tough on her, my lord, but, well, the airline were fantastic. They did everything they could to help, and we made it.
I see. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Parsons.
My lord. Now, was the faith healer referred to in the article Peter Croft?
It was.
And when you arrived in England, did you seek the help of Peter Croft?
Yes, I telephoned him the day after we got here.
That would be August 6th.
Yes, I made an appointment to take Elaine to see him a few days later on the 9th, when she'd had a bit of time to recover from the trip.
Yes. Where did this first meeting take place?
At his house.
Yes. And how many visits did you make in all?
4. We saw him 4 times.
Yes. On the 13th, 18th, and 23rd of August.
The other 3 times, yes.
Yes. Was anybody else present on those occasions?
No, it was just him and me and Elaine.
Yes. Now, what exactly took place on the first occasion, the visit of August 9th?
Well, I told him on the phone how she was.
Ah, you'd already fully explained her medical condition to him before you went to see him.
Yeah, I told him she was paraplegic. I mean, that was the whole point.
Yes. Did he make any comment?
No, he just said bring her around on the Monday afternoon as planned. So he took us into this room, asked her some questions about herself, the accident, you know, got to know her a bit. Then he put his hands on her back and her shoulders and her neck. It was all very quiet, peaceful. I just sat there and watched.
Yes. Now, Mr. Macdonald, I want you to think very carefully. Did Mr. Croft indicate in any way whether or not he thought he could help your wife?
Oh, sure he did. He told us about this guy who'd fallen off a roof and busted his leg. The quack said he'd be permanently lame. He came to see Croft, and now he's back at work fit as a flea.
What, Peter Croft told you that?
Yeah, he told us his name, Henry Walsh. I mean, he'd done the trick for Walsh. He could do it for Elaine.
Did he actually use those words?
Yes.
He actually said that he had healed other people?
He gave us a great list of names. He said he could help. He promised.
What, Peter Croft promised to help your wife, that she would recover, that she would walk again?
Yes.
What exactly did he say?
He looked at Elaine and he said, Mrs. Macdonald, when you dance again, I want an autographed copy of the programme.
Oh, so he promised that your wife would dance again?
He said he was a great ballet fan and he only wished he could be there to see it.
Yes. Well, how did your wife respond to that?
Well, I mean, she was over the moon. I mean, I don't think even she'd hoped to be able to dance again. She would have been happy just to walk, you know, lead a halfway normal life. I mean, that was the cruelest thing of all.
Yes. Now, it's absolutely essential, Mr. Macdonald, that the members of the jury have no doubt in their own minds as to the promise that Mr. Croft did in fact make.
He said she'd walk again. He said she'd dance again, the bastard.
Mr. Macdonald, I don't wish to warn you again about your language.
I'm sorry.
Now, was the question of money raised on that first visit, the one of the 9th of August? Did you discuss a fee?
Not a fee as such, no.
Did you ask him what his charges would be?
Well, that was a bit tricky, really. You see, I'd been told that these guys weren't allowed to charge, that it was against the law, but then I looked at him as a sort of a doctor, a kind of professional
Yes,
guy.
I
So...
mean, was the subject brought up?
Oh, yeah, there was this collection box in the room like you have on Flag Days, and, well, sort of jokingly, I said to him, how many fivers do I put in that thing?
So what did Mr. Croft say?
As many as you want.
As many as you want. And what did you take that reply to indicate?
He was up for grabs, that he'd take whatever he could get, and the more the better.
Really, my lord, the question as to what Mr. Macdonald thought Mr. Croft meant is quite inadmissible. It is for the jury to decide what he meant. In any event, I fail to see how those 5 words could be interpreted in the way that Mr. Macdonald has said.
It is a somewhat unwarranted assumption to make,
Well,
Mr. Macdonald.
With respect, my lord, I don't really think it is. You see, he told me about this public session he'd had a few weeks before in a hall. There'd been some dozen, or several dozen people there, and at least half of them had come forward for the healing. But at the end of the day, there was only £6 in the box.
Yeah. Did Mr. Croft say that he felt that such sums were less than adequate?
Well, yeah, he said it was up to people to put in what they wanted, but that was a pretty lousy way of saying thanks. Well, I mean, I agreed with him. If he'd helped even a quarter of that...
Yes.
Yes, if he had helped even a quarter of them. Yes, quite so. Now, did you leave any money in this box on the first visit, Mr. Macdonald?
£25.
That was rather a large sum of money to spontaneously give to a man you'd only just met, a man as yet who represented no more than a vague promise of help.
But he wasn't vague, that's the whole point. He made us damn certain that she'd get better. I mean, Elaine was already happier, more cheerful just after seeing him that first time. I began to see a glimmer of light at the end of the whole rotten nightmare. Oh, that 25 quid was nothing. Believe me, I was prepared to pay 20, 50 times as much if he could make a walk again.
Yes, did you tell Peter Croft that?
Yes, I said I'd be a damn sight more generous than some of the others.
Yes, what did he say?
He said I could obviously afford to be. Well, he's no mug. He must have a fair idea of the cost of 2 first-class return airfares. No, I'm not a rich man, but I'm not exactly broke.
Yes. Now, on your subsequent visits, how much did you leave?
Twice a tenner and once 15.
So, in all, you left a total of £60. Presumably, with more to follow.
£60, yeah. I wanted it to be more than a token gesture. I wanted to show him that we believed in him. An act of faith, if you like. Because we really did believe in him then.
Yes.
I mean, that was a whole lousy sinking con.
Yes. Now, you said that after the first visit, your wife felt much brighter, happier.
Yes, she did. That was the effect he had. He made her calmer, more hopeful.
Yes. Was there any physical improvement?
Well, no, but then she didn't expect an overnight miracle. I was just happy she was feeling better in herself. She'd been so depressed.
Yes. Did this new state of tranquility last?
For the first 3 visits, yes. And then on the 4th visit, she suddenly asked him how long he thought it would be before anything happened. You know, before there'd be some sign.
Yes. And what did he say?
He said, "We'll have to see. It doesn't rest with me." Yeah? Trying the old mystique touch, passing the buck to God. So that if he failed, it wasn't his fault. No way.
Yes. Well, that was all rather vague. I mean, how did your wife respond to that?
Well, you see, he got to her. He'd moulded her mind from the very beginning. I mean, I was influenced by him, not as much as Elaine, but then I wasn't stuck in that rotten wheelchair. She desperately wanted to go on believing in him, but she needed him to be more positive.
Yes. Are you saying that your wife was beginning to lose confidence in Mr. Croft?
Well, she didn't expect a miracle. She just wanted some sign. I mean, that Walsh guy had got up.
Yes. Now, what did your wife say to you, Miss Macdonald, after the 4th visit, when you brought her back to your sisters?
She said, "I don't think I can take much more of this, Harry."
Yes. And what did you think she meant by that?
Well, at the time, I thought she meant she couldn't take much more of being stuck in the wheelchair.
My lord, I must object. Again, it is not for Mr. Macdonald to speculate as to what his wife meant. It is for the jury to decide.
Yes, I think in this case, as Mrs. Macdonald is deceased, Mr. Macdonald is the only person in this court who can testify as to her state of mind. I think we can allow the question, but the jury will interpret his answer according to their own judgment. And remember that it is only speculation, not proven fact.
Thank you, my lord.
My lord. Now, Miss Macdonald, after that 4th visit, did your wife then take to her bed to rest while you went out shopping with your sister?
Yes, Elaine was rather tired, and Reen and I were gone for quite a time, and then when we came back, she'd taken the sleeping pills, and we were too late.
Yes. She had taken her own life.
That's what the coroner said. And I suppose, in a way, that's what happened. There were more than 30 tablets in the bottle when we left, and she'd taken the lot, and she meant to do it all right. She'd never been in that state if it hadn't been for Croft. Making her promises he knew he hadn't got a hope in hell of keeping.
Yes, yes, quite, Miss Macdonald. Thank you.
Mr. Macdonald, in your evidence in chief concerning your first visit to Mr. Croft, you said, he told us about this guy who'd fallen off a roof and bust his leg. The quack said he'd be permanently lame. He came to see Croft. Now he's back at work, fit as a flea.
Henry Walsh, that's right.
Not quite. Your words were, he told us. Mr. Macdonald, is it not a fact that you knew about Mr. Walsh before you ever met Mr. Croft? That you knew about him because his was one of the cases detailed in the article in the Fulchester Gazette, the same article which prompted your visit to England. Now, I suggest that it was you and not Mr. Croft who first brought up the subject of Mr. Walsh, and that it was you who said that as Mr. Croft had done the trick for Mr. Walsh, he could do the same for your wife.
I don't remember exactly who brought it up, but the subject certainly was discussed. I mean, that I will swear
Croft
to.
was merely confirming facts which were already known to you and to anybody else who had read the article.
But he didn't deny he'd helped him.
Why should he? Now, about the money you paid to Mr. Croft. Now, you said you asked, and I quote, "How many fivers do I put in that thing?" To which you say Mr. Croft replied, "As many as you want."
That's right.
Which reply, according to you, indicated that he was out for whatever he could get. But surely the unspoken corollary to the phrase, "as many as you want," is, "or as little as you want." Mr. Croft was giving you an open-ended statement, not a scale of charges.
It certainly didn't seem that way to me.
It may seem that way to the jury. The fact is that he left the matter of payment entirely up to you. He made no suggestion as to the amount at all, and that you gave £25 on your first visit was an entirely voluntary act on your part.
He didn't mention an
in your own words, an act of faith.
He didn't mention an exact amount, no, but he knew I'd divvy up.
How could he know? If he didn't specify an exact amount and you didn't tell him what you gave. Are you suggesting that my client is a mind reader?
I've already said I told him I'd be generous. I'm more generous than some of those others. And he said I could obviously afford to be.
As indeed you could. Now, about the promise you allege Mr. Croft made to your wife. I put it to you that the only promise he made was that he would try to help her.
Rubbish.
Now, according to you, Mr. Croft also told your wife that when she danced again, he wanted an autographed copy of the programme.
That's right.
Mr. Croft is a ballet fan. He is well aware of the tough and disciplined life of the professional dancer, and he would be perfectly aware that even if your wife did regain the use of her limbs, the chances of her returning to her career were, to put it mildly, very slight.
He said she'd walk again. He said she'd dance again. He promised she'd get better. Now, that's all I know.
That is certainly what you wanted him to say, and what you evidently convinced yourselves he did say. But once again, I put it to you that all Mr. Croft promised was that he would try to help her.
Look, I'm not a complete nutcase. I know what he said. Now, Elaine's dead. So it's my word against his, isn't it?
Quite. Now, Mr. Macdonald, you've told us your wife was very depressed following her accident.
Yes, she was.
And that then she started to fight back.
That's right, she did.
Became more cheerful?
Yes.
How, from an understandable state of severe depression, did she manage to achieve this cheerfulness?
Well, she adjusted. She got calmer.
She got calmer, yes. Mr. Macdonald, is it not a fact that your wife was regularly taking an extremely high dose of antidepressant drugs?
Naturally, she had some stuff to help her. It is normal in cases like hers.
Well, I don't dispute that. But I do put it to you that the cheerfulness was due to the fact that she was taking as many as 12 capsules of amitriptyline a day.
She didn't often take that many.
But she did take them regularly.
Yeah, well, she had to keep herself going somehow.
How many capsules would you say, then, that she took in the course of an average day? 4? 6? 8?
Well, 6 or 8, sometimes a couple more.
I see. And for how long had she been taking them in that quantity?
Ever since she came out of the hospital, about a year, I suppose.
And when she arrived in England?
Yes.
And while she was attending Mr. Croft?
No.
No. Now, why was that?
Well, like I said, I mean, she felt better as soon as she saw him. I mean, he had that effect on her. I've not denied it. Soothing.
So soothing that she immediately stopped taking her drugs?
Yes, she made me chuck them down the loo.
That was a very foolhardy thing to do.
Well, it didn't seem so at the time, my lord. I must say I admired her guts. It seemed so positive. It was her decision. She said she didn't want them. And you see what the lousy sod did? He got her to depend on him.
Mr. Macdonald, you must not refer to the plaintiff in such terms. Just confine yourself to answering my questions and those put to you by learned counsel.
I'm sorry.
Yes?
Thank you, my lord. Mr. Macdonald, are you aware that suicide is a common occurrence among patients who suddenly stop taking high doses of antidepressant drugs?
No.
It is a medically attested fact. Now, I suggest to you that when your wife threw away her drugs, on which she had become almost totally dependent for her emotional stability, that she, and she alone, was responsible for putting her life at risk.
Yes, but it was his influence
You say your wife was a professional ballet dancer, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And she was also a keen horsewoman.
Mad keen, yes.
She rode a great deal.
Every day. Aussie girls are great sportswomen.
Is it not a fact that excessive riding develops muscles which are extremely undesirable in a professional dancer?
A lot of dancers ride.
Occasionally, yes. But you say your wife rode every day. Now, did she not know that it was damaging to her career?
Well, it never harmed her career.
Please answer my question. Did she know?
Yes, of course she knew. They told her when she was in training that it was bad for her, and then there was the chance she might have an accident, but...
And in spite of this, she foolishly, and as it turned out tragically, persisted in doing what she wanted to do. Now, Mr. Macdonald, one final point. On her last visit to Mr. Croft, you say your wife asked how long it would be before she saw some sign of improvement.
Yeah, she was getting a bit impatient.
To which you say he replied, "We shall have to see. It doesn't rest with me."
That's right. He was stalling for more time, more money, wasn't he? I mean, he was doing all right.
Mr. Macdonald, what should Mr. Croft have said? I mean, guaranteed your wife would walk again in 6 days? 6 weeks or 6 months?
That'd be bloody ridiculous. We weren't complete fools. Look, I know now that Elaine was beginning to suspect that she was being conned. And he was just a smooth talker who could do damn all for her. Her last hope turned out to be nothing more than a good bedside manner and a whole lot of fancy words.
You use the word conned, Mr. Macdonald. I suggest your wife was entirely responsible for conning herself. Now, you say she wasn't expecting a miracle, but I suggest that is exactly what she was expecting. Consequently, she threw away her drugs, causing acute withdrawal symptoms. And it was in that deeply depressed state that she took her own life.
The cases in Fulchester are fictitious. Join us tomorrow when Croft versus Macdonald will be resumed in the Crown Court. Harry Macdonald claimed in a radio interview that faith healer Peter Croft was a fake and a fraud. He's now accused of libel, and his defence counsel, who opened the case yesterday, has just called journalist Jack Markman.
Now, Mr. Markman, you're currently employed as a journalist on the staff of the Fulchester Gazette. Is that correct?
I am, yes.
Yes. And you've been in their employ for 2 years?
That's right.
Yes. May Mr. Markman be shown a copy of the newspaper article already introduced in evidence? Now, Mr. Markman, were you the author of this article about Peter Croft?
It's got my byline on it. There's not much point saying no. Yeah, I wrote it.
Yes. Now, there are 3 people mentioned in the article, apart from Mr. Croft himself: Henry Walsh, Sandra Petri, and Alice Green. Did you interview these people personally?
I did, yes.
Now, they'd all suffered disease or injury of some kind, and all claimed to have been healed by Mr. Croft, where more orthodox methods had failed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Markman, exactly how much information did you have about these people before you went to interview them?
Oh, quite a lot. They're complete case histories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just filled in the details, the human interest stuff, all that.
I see. So they didn't so much claim to have been cured as corroborate the information you already had.
Yeah, if you put it like that, yeah.
Yes. Now, Mr. Markman, how did these 3 particular people come to your attention?
Croft gave them to me.
Oh, Mr. Croft gave them to you, I see. And how did you first meet Mr. Croft?
Well, I'd heard rumours about this guy. Suddenly discovered he got this thing for healing the sick, the halt, the lame, all that. Sounded like a good story, so I went to see him.
Yes. Did Mr. Croft know you were going to write an article about him in the Fulchester Gazette?
Naturally, yeah. I told him who I was. I didn't go along there undercover, posing as a patient, if that's what you mean. We don't actually go in for that kind of cheap expose stuff. We leave that to the Sundays.
Yes, I see. Did Mr. Croft agree to be interviewed?
He was a bit cagey at first.
Cagey?
Yeah, sort of embarrassed.
Yes, had you any idea why that was?
Yeah, people often are. They're not all mad keen on publicity.
Yes, so you had the impression that Mr. Croft was unhappy about having his activities publicized.
At first, yeah.
What happened to change his mind?
We did a deal.
Oh, what sort of deal?
Well, he agreed to cooperate on condition that he nominated the people I talked to.
People? You mean you also told Mr. Croft that you wanted to interview some of his patients, if that's a correct term?
Of course, yeah. The other half of the picture.
Yes. Now, is that the usual practice? I mean, for a journalist to be restricted in this way?
Yeah. If they'd turned out to be a waste of time, then obviously I would have had to insist on doing my own digging around. But as it turned out, there were 3 cracking good stories.
The jury might nevertheless think it odd that Mr. Croft should insist in making these conditions. Had you ever come across this situation before in the course of your work?
As it happens, no.
No.
No, he knew the sort of stuff I wanted. Good human interest stories, people who could be a bit articulate, you know. Oh, you come across some real dummies sometimes. And he actually saved me a lot of time in shoe leather.
So he, in fact, gave you the names of 3 people he wished you to interview?
No, he gave me about 6. I chose the 3.
Yes. Now, those 3 being Henry Walsh, who, as we have already heard, had an accident at work which threatened to leave him permanently lame, Sandra Petri, who was suffering from a bone disease, and Alice Green, who was paralyzed down one side of her body after the onset of multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, you say he claimed to have healed them. How exactly did he convey that to you?
A straightforward account. He said they'd all been ill when they first came to see him and that they were completely or 90% cured now, as indeed they were only too happy to confirm. Well, they were all very grateful to the guy. He'd helped them where the doctors had failed.
Appeared to have helped them, Mr. Markman. I mean, I don't dispute for a moment that these 3 people believed Mr. Croft had helped them. We've already had evidence of Mr. Croft's remarkable ability to convince people of his powers of healing. That would appear to be his greatest talent. I would venture to add his only talent. But you would agree, would you not, that your article gives no positive proof of any such cures?
What, medical proof? Well, no. I wasn't writing a scientific account for the Lancet. I was just writing what had happened. The readers are free to come to their own conclusions.
Yes, you simply gave an objective account.
I hope so.
Did you not ask to see a report from a qualified medical practitioner during the course of your investigation?
No, I couldn't without their cooperation. None of them had much time for doctors after what had happened. You can't just go demanding to see confidential medical records.
So you just relied on their word?
Yeah, they were genuine people, nice people. Not the sort that go rushing into print with a load of made-up nonsense.
I always thought it was an elementary rule of journalism that a good reporter always checked his facts.
Yeah, as I've already explained, my lord, there was a limit as to how far I could go. Anyway, it wasn't that kind of story.
Wasn't it? I should have thought it was exactly that kind of story.
My lord, I shall be calling an expert medical witness.
Glad to hear it.
My lord. Now, Mr. Markman, although the jury have copies of this article, may I, for their additional enlightenment, draw your attention to the 3rd sentence down of the 2nd paragraph. Would you read that out for us, please?
I asked Mr. Croft exactly how he could be certain that the cures were attributable to him and not to some other source. He said there could be no other source. They had all been tried and found wanting. His healing powers alone were responsible for these people now being fit and well. He was quite convinced of that.
Yes, now, were these the exact words he used when you interviewed him?
They were.
Yes, he evinced not the slightest doubt in himself?
No, he was totally certain.
Yes, well, it must be very comforting for Mr. Croft to be so positive about his own abilities. Thank you, Mr. Markman.
Mr. Markman, the learned judge has remarked that you failed to carry out a thorough investigation into the background of your story. Well, perhaps a seasoned reporter, a veteran journalist, might have been a little less ready to accept and a little more questioning, but you are not a seasoned reporter, are you, Mr. Markman?
I've been doing the job 2 years.
In your present capacity?
I've been doing it for over a year in this capacity.
And you are classed, are you not, as a junior reporter?
I'm a journalist.
Oh, certainly. But a trainee journalist. To be a senior journalist, you would have to have completed a 3-year period of indentures, been at least 24 years old, and have passed a proficiency test, and probably also to have undergone a training scheme. I take it none of these qualifications apply to you?
No.
No. Then let us agree, Mr. Markman. You are a junior reporter, and quite understandably anxious to make a name for yourself. Now, let us come to the article in question. My learned friend has implied that by agreeing to Mr. Croft's suggestions as to whom you should interview, that you were allowing yourself to become a dupe, a pawn. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely not, no way.
Was Mr. Croft present during the interviews with Miss Petri or Mr. Walsh or Mrs. Green?
No, of course not.
I see. How did you conduct these interviews? I mean, did you use a tape recorder or did you take notes?
Mostly I took notes.
Mostly. Ah. Well, the article contains a good many verbatim quotes, I see.
Yes.
Now, the words attributed to Mr. Croft, which you have just read out to this court, were they a direct quote?
Yes.
Oh, but you don't present it as such. You write, he said there could be no other source, his healing powers alone were responsible, and he was quite convinced of that. Now, it's curious that you don't write, there could be no other source, my healing powers alone were responsible, and I am quite convinced of that.
It was just the style I chose.
Oh, I see. Was it? Or was it that you chose that style deliberately because it was more ambiguous? Because Mr. Croft, in fact, said no such thing. Now, you looked up your sketchy notes and embroidered them a little in order to present a good, strong story. And then you used this particular form of reported speech in order to prevent the inevitable accusation of lying.
My notes weren't sketchy and I didn't lie.
No, you merely distorted the truth.
I did not make it up.
Do you still have your notes?
No, of course not. It was last summer. I didn't know this case was going to come up.
Right. Now, Mr. Markman. Miracle Man Croft brings new era of hope for incurables. Pilgrimage to Fulchester. And then you go on to draw a comparison between Fulchester and Lourdes.
I saw a connection there.
Oh, so these are your words. They're not spoken by Mr. Croft or any of your interviewees.
I should think that's pretty clear from reading it.
And yet you have told this court that you wanted to be objective, to present an objective account of the facts, leaving your readers free to draw their own conclusions.
Yeah, those were part of the facts. These people have the same kind of attitudes as those who go to Lourdes.
These people? You mean Miss Petri, Mr. Walsh, Mrs. Green?
Yeah.
But they themselves did not draw these parallels.
No.
Or use these phrases.
No.
Nor Mr. Croft.
No.
No. They were entirely your own highly colourful invention.
I'm paid to write, not just present a string of quotes. I'm paid to interest our readers, not bore the pants off them. I mean, I may have gone a bit over the top.
Over the top?
A dramatic licence. The basic facts are accurate.
Dramatic licence, is that what you call it? I would call it gross and unhealthy exaggeration, deliberate distortion. How would you describe the paragraph comparing Mr. Croft with St. Bernadette, Mr. Markman?
Yeah, perhaps it was a touch purple. People want a bit of drama.
Drama. Dramatic licence. Mr. Markman, suppose your story wasn't being read as the start to just another routine day. Suppose it was being read by a desperately unhappy, paralysed woman. Now, what do you think phrases like Miracle Man Croft brings new era of hope for incurables meant to her?
I have known orthopedic cases where severe damage has ultimately been almost totally repaired.
I take it you mean without the aid of surgery, Dr. Bardell?
Without any medical aid. In some persons, the bones knit together with remarkable facility. There are several cases on record of patients who have sustained fractured limbs without being aware of it at the time. The healed fractures became evident when another X-ray was taken at a later date, often for a non-related reason.
Yes, but in a case such as that of Mr. Walsh, where he'd been categorically told he'd be permanently lame, could such a recovery still occur?
Well, I would never tell a patient categorically any such thing, particularly under the circumstances. I would consider it highly irresponsible. There is always the possibility, especially with this type of injury, of a partial, if not a complete, recovery.
Yes. You have examined Mr. Walsh, have you not?
I have. I found him almost completely recovered.
Yes. Now, could that recovery have been quite spontaneous?
It could, certainly.
Yes. Thank you. Now, Dr. Bardell, you've been acquainted with the facts concerning Miss Sandra Petri, who was diagnosed as suffering from osteoporosis. Will you give the court your professional opinion as to her alleged cure?
Now, this is rather more difficult, as I was unable to examine Miss Petri.
Why was that?
She failed to cooperate, my lord. She said she was never going to have anything to do with doctors again as long as she lived. Her father supported her in this.
Yes, I see. Well, can you give us an opinion based on her case history as presented to you?
Well, firstly, I should like to point out that Miss Petri was just 15 years of age at the time of the onset of her symptoms. Osteoporosis is extremely rare at this age. The bones are still growing. Anything can happen.
You mean that recovery could occur with the normal growing process, which at the age of 15 was presumably still going on?
It is possible, my lord. The thing is, how certain was the original diagnosis? Now, this is a question we always have to ask ourselves in these cases. Similarly, in the case of Mrs. Green, on which I was also asked to comment.
Yes. Now, you had the opportunity of examining that lady.
I did, my lord.
Yes.
She certainly appeared to be symptom-free. As we are told in this article in the Gazette, Mrs. Green has fully recovered from multiple sclerosis, having visited Peter Croft over a period of time. Again, we have to ask ourselves, how certain was the original diagnosis? Now, this is a particularly relevant question in regards to multiple or disseminated sclerosis, as is also known. Every neurological clinic in the country has cases of alleged disseminated sclerosis. The problem is that there is no definitive clinical test. Unless one has an unequivocal diagnosis in the first instance, one cannot be certain of the validity of so-called spontaneous cures.
Yes, well, thank you, Dr. Bardell. That was most instructive, members of the jury. Yes, Mr. Parsons.
My lord, Dr. Bardell, assuming that the diagnosis is correct, is there not also the possibility that certain diseases can have long periods of remission, giving the appearance of a cure?
Well, certainly. I personally know of a patient who has twice been paralyzed by disseminated sclerosis. She is now, as you say, apparently completely cured. Whether she remains so has to be seen.
Yes, quite. Thank you, Dr. Bardell.
Dr. Bardell, you believe that for every unlikely cure there is a medical explanation?
Not at all.
Oh, but forgive me, isn't that exactly what you've just said?
No. I said there is often a natural cause.
How would you define a natural cause?
Well, in this sense, a case where nature itself has taken over and effected the cure.
Well, that seems a dangerous simplification to make. You provide only two possibilities, medical or natural aid. Do you not concede a third? The possibility of spiritual healing power?
My lord, this is not a subject on which I would care to hazard speculation. I would prefer not to make public comment in this instance.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Doctor. Have you any more questions for the witness, Miss Dunwoody?
I think not, my lord.
Oh, Mr. Parsons?
No, my lord.
Thank you, Doctor. You may leave the witness box.
I call Margaret Standish.
Call Margaret Standish.
You are Margaret Louise Standish of 12 Ruston Court, London.
Yes, I am.
And you're a professional dealer in antiques and objets d'art?
That is so. I run the business with my husband.
And you're acquainted with the plaintiff, Mr. Peter Croft?
Yes, my husband and I are both friendly with Peter. We've done quite a lot of business together over the years.
Yes. Now, Mrs. Standish, do you remember an occasion in September 1975 when Mr. Croft visited your Knightsbridge shop?
Yes, I do. He'd come to look at a French clock set in which he was interested. He wanted it for a particular client.
Yes. What was the state of your health at that time?
I was feeling pretty ghastly. I suffer from arthritis, and I was having a particularly bad spell.
Yes. Now, did the question of your ill health come up during your conversations with Mr. Croft?
Yes, Clive, my husband, mentioned it. We'd heard rumours at the fairs. We visit several antique fairs throughout the country in the course of our business, and we'd heard these rumours about Peter.
What sort of rumours?
That he'd suddenly discovered he'd got some mysterious healing power.
Yes. And how did you react to that?
Well, I couldn't really take it seriously. I mean, it seemed so unlikely. A man you've known for years, especially a down-to-earth businessman like Peter. I mean, do people suddenly discover things like that about themselves?
But your husband did take those rumours more seriously.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it was only because, well, I was in such agony that I suppose he thought anything was worth a try. In a very larky way, really, he said to him, "What's all this we've heard about you helping the sick? Because we've got one right here for you to practice on."
Yes. And what did Mr. Croft reply?
Well, he looked embarrassed. I tried to make light of it, just said we'd heard the odd rumour. He said, "You mustn't believe everything you hear, Maggie."
You mustn't believe everything you hear. Did he say anything else?
Well, I laughed and said I'd got to hand it to him. It was a damn good gimmick.
Gimmick?
Well, in our business it helps if you're a bit colourful, eccentric, gives you an image. The Americans love it.
Yes. Now, did he accept the suggestion that this was merely a sales gimmick? Was he angry?
Well, he neither accepted nor rejected it. He certainly wasn't cross about it. He said, "Don't let's waste time talking about this nonsense. How much do you want for the bloody clock?"
Oh. And was that the end of the matter?
The healing? Oh, yes, we never mentioned it again.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Standish. Please wait, will you?
I have no questions for this witness, my lord.
Does your lordship have any questions?
No. Thank you, Mrs. Standish. You may go and sit over there.
That is the case for the defence, my lord.
How old are you, Miss Petri?
I was 17 last month.
And do you know Mr. Peter Croft?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, well, will you tell us how you come to know him?
It was through me dad. He heard about Mr. Croft and made me go and see him.
He made you? Do you mean that you didn't want to go and see him?
Well, I thought it was a load of rubbish. If the doctors couldn't help, I didn't see how he could do any good.
Now, you were diagnosed as suffering from osteoporosis, weren't you?
They said it was a softening of the bones. I was all sort of doubled up, shrinking. I couldn't walk proper. They had me in and out of hospital, gave me tablets and stuff, but it didn't do no good.
So then your father took you to see Mr. Croft. Now, what happened on the first occasion that you went to see him?
He said he wouldn't make any promises.
He said he would not make any promises.
No, he said we'd have to see. Well, then I lay down on this couch thing, and he just sort of touched me very gently, all down my back and legs. I felt dead relaxed. You know, sort of happy in my mind. I mean, I was in pain as well the whole time. It was rotten. But after that, I went to see him every week.
And did you improve?
Oh, yeah. After about 6 weeks, everyone said there was a change in me. I was a different person.
Did the pain go?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, so I felt great.
Now, did you attend either your doctor or the hospital during the period you attended Mr. Croft?
Oh, no, I never went back.
I see. And how long ago was all this?
About 15 months. I was one of his first patients. He'd not been doing it long. My dad heard about him from a mate at work.
Yes, yes. And do you still visit him?
Oh, yeah, but not so often now. I'm better, see? I'm even starting work next month.
Good. Well, thank you, Miss Petri. Would you please stay there? My learned friend, Mr. Parsons, has some questions for you.
Miss Petri, I'm quite sure you're very brave, and I don't doubt for a moment that you did, in fact, suffer a great deal in the past. But I do find it rather strange that you attribute your cure solely to Mr. Croft.
It was him. The doctors didn't do it.
Oh, well, with all due respect, you can't possibly have the qualifications to know that. I mean, you had been on a course of treatment with drugs. Now, how do you know that you are not now reaping the long-term benefit from those drugs?
It was me who was ill. I know what it was like. I know what I went through.
Don't you let him upset you, love.
If you can't remain silent and seated, you will have to leave the court. Yes?
My lord. Now, we have heard medical evidence.
Oh, I was sat here. I heard what that doctor said, and he was talking a load of cobblers.
That's right, love. You tell him. She knows what she's talking about, all right?
Are you the witness's father?
I'm her dad, yes.
Yes, well, I sympathise with your feelings, Mr. Petri, but you must not interrupt the proceedings of the court. If you do, you may find yourself in contempt. Now, do you understand?
Yes, my lord.
My dad needn't worry. Nothing no doctor nor nobody says can upset me. I'm better, and I know who made me better. He did.
Well, he obviously had a very great influence.
Yes, he did. But he didn't trick me, mister. He didn't con me like you're trying to say. I may only be a kid to you, but I'm not stupid. I was sick, and it wasn't in my mind, it was there. I couldn't go out dancing, I couldn't go out with my mates. I was on crutches. Mister, if you was walking around bent double in sheer bloody agony, could you be conned into throwing away your crutches and standing up here like I am now? Could you?
The cases in Fulchester are fictitious. Join us again tomorrow when Croft versus Macdonald will be concluded in the Crown Court. In the last day of Croft versus Macdonald, a libel case, counsel for the plaintiff, faith healer Peter Croft, has called another of Croft's patients to give evidence. The jury has been selected from members of the public whose names appeared on the electoral register and who are eligible for jury service.
I always have a gang my leg, mate. That's more or less what they told me down the hospital. And as for climbing ladders, forget it. Well, I'm a jobbing builder. I mean, it's a bit like telling a flaming piano player to forget about using his hands. So I went to Mr. Croft and proofs in pudding. I'm back at work, shooting up and down ladders like a flaming monkey. And I'll tell you another thing. Them 3 months I were off work, he wouldn't let me put a penny in that box. Not 1 penny. He's a good bloke, no messing.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Mr. Walsh, have you ever done any work around Mr. Croft's house?
I've done a few odd jobs for him, yeah.
Before or after your accident?
After. I didn't know him before.
I take it that was when you were fully recovered.
Of course.
Yes. Now, was the suggestion his or yours that you should do this work?
He said it needed doing, so I offered to do it, that's all.
Yes. What needed doing, Mr. Walsh?
Like I said, a few jobs around the place.
Oh, come, Mr. Walsh. I would hardly call fitting an entire new bathroom suite and double glazing the living room a few jobs around the place. That is the work you did for Mr. Croft, is it not?
Well, what of it?
Well, I mean, did you charge Mr. Croft for this work? Did you send him a bill?
Not for bathroom suite. He got that himself through a friend in trade.
Well, what about the labour involved? The double glazing, did you charge him for that?
No.
Why not?
Look, mate, I owed him one hell of a favour.
Oh, quite. But if you had to charge him, can you give us an idea of the cost?
Not without checking the number of men I was involved.
Well, a rough estimate. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, £100, 300, 500.
About 300 quid.
Free labour to the tune of £300. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Mrs. Schofield, you're manageress of Mr. Peter Croft's antique shop, is that right?
That's a bit grand. There's only me there. Yes, I help out. Peter's an old family friend and godfather to our eldest son.
Now, how would you describe the state of his business?
Well, it used to be very good, but unfortunately trade's fallen off a lot.
I see. Do you know the reason for that?
Well, Peter started losing interest. He was getting very involved with the healing. He devoted more and more time to it and less to the shop. Sounds as though I'm being very disloyal saying this, but Peter himself was the first to admit it.
Yet he was not able to do anything about it.
Well, I don't think he could. He didn't seem to have any choice. I tried to talk to him about it several times.
He didn't want to discuss his problems.
No, he told me I shouldn't worry about the business. That was his problem. Which, strictly speaking, was true. I was just an employee. But I was also a friend, and I didn't like to see what was happening.
So he was prepared to face it alone. Because to him, the business was no longer of prime importance. What was important and becoming central to his life was the problem of his ability to heal people. Would you agree with that, Mrs. Schofield?
Not my learned friend is leading this witness quite shamefully.
Well, Miss Dunwoody, I'm sure you know better than to put opinions into the witness's mouth.
I'm sorry, my lord. I withdraw the question. I have no further questions.
Mrs. Schofield, you have described for us a man wholly involved with his business, a man who is highly knowledgeable about works of fine art, an aesthetic man, and also a very good businessman.
Yes.
Yes. Now, he had never married, he had no children of his own. Would you say that his business had almost become his family?
Perhaps.
Yes. Now, was there any one person with whom he had a close personal involvement?
Well, not that I know of, no.
No, so you would agree that he was not a man to go in for close relationships. And yet at the same time, you're asking us to believe that this same man should suddenly lose interest in his life's work and become wholly devoted to the welfare of those from whom he had previously distanced himself.
I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm just telling you what happened.
Yes, it was a heartwarming picture. I mean, perhaps the members of the jury might find his sudden conversion a little hard to swallow, however.
Look, something incredible had happened to him. It could change anyone. Discovering a power like that within yourself.
Ah, yes, we come back to the mystical element in this case, the gold halo that surrounds the head of the plaintiff. But, Mrs. Schofield, those who achieve a halo usually have had to suffer in some way beforehand. Had Mr. Croft had to suffer?
Well, as I said, the business was certainly suffering.
Ah, yes, but you've already told us that that fact worried you far more than it worried him. I mean, could it be that the reason he was not worried about losing money from his antique business was because he knew he was being more than compensated by the money he was receiving from his grateful patients?
No, it couldn't. That simply isn't true.
Well, I mean, do you know how much income he was getting from his faith-healing work?
Well, of course not. That side of the business had nothing to do with me.
And how can you be so positive of facts in which you admit you're in complete ignorance? You've already told us that Mr. Croft refused to discuss his other activities with you.
Well, yes, but that wasn't because he had anything to hide.
Oh, then why was it? Out of some high moral sensibility on his part?
Well, he wanted to work out his problems for himself.
I see. Would you say that running a small antique business is easy in our current economic climate?
Of course not. It's tough for everyone.
Yes. You see, Mrs. Schofield, I would put it to you that Mr. Croft didn't stumble on a gold halo, but a gold mine. He realized that there was a shortage of people who were prepared to purchase costly antiques, but there was no shortage of those who were sick, distressed, and gullible. Would you agree with that, Mrs. Schofield?
I've no idea. It's not my job to make predictions, nor yours either. And you've got it all wrong about Peter.
Well, Mrs. Schofield, since you've admitted Mr. Croft refused to discuss his healing work with you, it may just be you who have got it all wrong. No further questions, my lord.
Miss Dunwoody, do you wish to re-examine the witness?
Yes, my lord, thank you. Mrs. Schofield, during the 15 months or so that Mr. Croft has been concerned with healing, would you describe his behaviour as that of someone who had found either a gold halo or a gold mine?
That's absurd.
In a word, how would you describe him?
In a word, tormented.
Mr. Croft, we've heard from various witnesses that this healing power you have manifested itself quite recently. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I had no idea there was anything different until about 18 months ago.
I see. And how did it first occur, this awareness?
My mother started getting these migraine attacks, and more to soothe her than anything, I'd put my hands on her eyes, her forehead. After a while, the attacks became less frequent and then stopped altogether. And then one day I found Mrs. Flint in tears. She's my cleaning lady. She'd suffered from a painful skin rash for years. Well, it was particularly bad that day. She was crying. Almost without thinking, I said, "Let me see what I can do." I touched her face, her neck. That was where it was worst. And I felt this power going through me. After a while, she said the irritation had stopped. So the next day we repeated the treatment. Within a fortnight, the rash had completely disappeared. It's never come back. Well, after that word soon got around, Mrs. Flint isn't the most secretive of people. And Sandra Petri came to see me, and then others. It soon spread. People with physical problems, with mental ones. It just snowballed.
It took up more and more of your time.
Inevitably.
And did you realize that your antique business was suffering as a result?
Yes, I was desperately sorry about that. I knew how worried Marion, Mrs. Schofield, was. She's very loyal.
You were worried for her sake, but not unduly concerned for your own.
No, because to me, the business had become almost irrelevant. The other thing was important now.
I see. Now, what was your first contact with Mr. and Mrs. Macdonald?
He telephoned me. He said he'd brought his wife to England to see me.
And did he tell you about her condition?
He said she was paralyzed as the result of an accident.
And what did you tell him?
I made an appointment to see them.
That's all? You made no promises that you could help her?
Neither then nor at any time. When they arrived, almost the first question was, could I help her? I said, we shall have to see. It doesn't rest with me. It isn't my will. It's God's will.
You recall very positively your precise choice of words, Mr. Croft?
Well, that's what I believe, my lord. That's what I tell everyone who comes to see me.
I see. Thank you.
My lord. Are you absolutely certain, Mr. Croft, that you did not, on any occasion, promise that you would cure Mrs. Macdonald?
Of course I didn't. The only promise I made is that I would try to help her. And I believe I did help her.
But she made no physical improvement.
I try to heal the spirit as well as the body. If I can do both, that's better still.
I see. You believe that you helped Mrs. Macdonald spiritually?
For a time, yes, I did.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Croft, it's been suggested that you made a great deal of money, both in cash and in kind, from your work as a healer. Would you agree with this?
It's absolute nonsense. I was just about managing to make ends meet.
Would you say, then, that your standard of living since you began healing has, in fact, lowered?
In many ways, yes, but I didn't mind that.
Now, we have heard that some of your patients did reward you generously. Now, this is the exception, then, and not the rule?
Oh, absolutely. Most people gave very little, as I mentioned to Macdonald. Well, that wasn't because they were ungrateful or mean. They simply couldn't afford to give any more.
When Mr. Macdonald visited you, did he bring up the question of payment?
Yes, he asked me how much I charged. I told him there was no charge. He could make a voluntary contribution. That was entirely up to him.
And did he indicate that he would be extremely generous?
Well, he may have done. I don't remember. It really wasn't that important.
I see. What was important then, Mr. Croft?
To try and help his wife.
Thank you, Mr. Croft. Please, stay where you are.
Mr. Croft, I understand you call yourself a faith healer.
I prefer the term spiritual healer.
Very well. Are you aware that there are certain recognized associations of spiritual healers which provide an intensive training for those whom they consider to have a genuine healing gift?
I only recently became aware of this.
Only recently, but you've been practicing for, what, over 15 months now?
I wasn't in touch with any such association.
Have you applied for membership?
No.
Have you had any training from any known spiritual healer at all?
No.
No. Are you aware that such associations have a strict code of conduct in the form of a handbook which they provide to their members?
I believe so.
You believe so. Now, have you ever seen or taken note of these rules of conduct?
They're only issued to members. How could I?
Then I take it that you are unaware of one of their cardinal rules, that apart from questioning a patient as to their illness, you also ascertain if they're on any particular drug and the importance of that drug to their condition.
Well, that makes sense.
Indeed it does. But you did not think to ask Mrs. Macdonald if she was in any particular drug, and you did not realize that by this omission you could have been putting her in very grave danger.
If she'd told me that she was going to stop taking her drugs, I'd certainly have discouraged her.
She was sick, distressed, clearly not in a rational frame of mind. Was it not your responsibility to acquaint yourself in every sense with the facts concerning the case?
Perhaps I should have done. All I can say is that I bitterly regret that I didn't.
There is no perhaps about it, Mr. Croft. If you had behaved in a responsible way, it was your duty to have done so. Now, we've heard of your connection with Mrs. Standish.
I've done business with her for years.
Yes. Mrs. Standish has told the court that when her husband asked you to relieve her arthritic pain, you replied, "Don't believe everything you hear, Maggie," which referred, of course, to the rumours about your healing powers. Now, did you use those words, Mr. Croft?
I may have done.
You may have done. What did you also say? Don't let's waste time talking about that nonsense. How much do you want for this bloody clock?
I'd gone there to buy the clock if the price was right.
But you dismissed your healing powers as nonsense. You did use that word, didn't you, Mr. Croft?
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yes, I did.
Ah, you did. Then, could you tell us why you chose to describe your gift in such derisive terms?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I wasn't being derisive. I was trying to play it down.
Trying to play it down. And yet within a very short time you were neglecting your business in order to devote yourself almost full time to this particular bit of nonsense you were trying to play down. You really must make up your mind, Mr. Croft. Either you took it seriously or you did not. Or could it be that with gullible, simple people you found it expedient to take it seriously, whereas you would not so insult your friends and colleagues whom you respected, people like Mr. and Mrs. Standish, that you were in fact operating on a double standard?
That's outrageous and quite untrue.
Let us move on then to something a little more concrete than your personal beliefs, which seem to have a degree of elasticity about them. You've told the court that, in fact, you were losing money by devoting much of your time to healing.
I certainly wasn't making the fortune you've tried to imply.
Well, we only have your word for that, Mr. Croft.
Ask my accountant, talk to my bank manager. I've nothing to hide.
Ah, well, yes, I already have. I have here copies of your bank statements. Could the plaintiff be shown copies? These are agreed documents, my lord. Now, these date back from November 1975. Would you agree that is when you started your faith-healing work?
Yes.
And yet these bank statements show that you deposited less and less in your deposit account, and on several occasions your current account was overdrawn.
Well, of course, all the deposits I made were with profits from the antique business, which, as you already know, was doing badly.
Ah, so these bank statements simply record your income from the antique business?
Yes, you can see that.
Then, where are the statements from your faith-healing practice account?
I didn't have one.
What, you didn't keep a separate account?
No, it wasn't worth it.
Wasn't worth it? Well, what did you do with the money you made from your patients, Mr. Croft? You certainly didn't bank it.
I just used it.
Used it, Mr. Croft?
Well, there wasn't very much, 10, 15, sometimes £20 in a week, sometimes not that much. I just used it as petty cash, general household expenses.
You mean you didn't declare it as earned income? You didn't keep any records of any kind?
No, that was probably foolish.
Well, not only foolish, but also illegal, Mr. Croft, as you, as a businessman, must well know.
Yes, I suppose I did.
Suppose?
Yes, but there was so much else on my mind. And I didn't regard it as business. The amounts were usually so small.
Small? Well, Mr. Macdonald paid you £60 over a mere 4 visits.
Well, there weren't many people like him.
Yes, well, so you say. I mean, these were all cash transactions, were they not? Or else, in the case of Mr. Walsh, services given free of charge. In his case, services to the amount of £300. Now, you have told the court that you kept no record of the monies involved. We only have your word for it that they were not excessive. You, and only you, would know if they did not amount to tens or hundreds or even thousands of pounds. Certainly not the Inland Revenue, and certainly not the members of this jury.
I was not doing it for the money. I have told you that over and over again. That wasn't important.
Highly commendable. So, what was important, Mr. Croft? How do you justify your ignorant and, as it turned out, dangerous meddling in this highly sensitive field when you've admitted you had no previous knowledge, no training, no official authorization of any kind?
I don't justify it. I can't. That is the whole point. Marion, Mrs. Schofield, has said that I seemed tormented, and I was. I didn't seek this thing within myself. It just happened to me. And it's changed my whole life. I don't understand it. There are times when I want it to be a nonsense in the way I described it to Margaret Standish. Sick people come to you when all else has failed them. Now, you may feel in your heart that there's very little you can do, but if you've been given this power, you have to say, let's see what we can do. Now, do you think that I want to bear that kind of responsibility? And when Mrs. Macdonald comes halfway across the world to see me, do you think I could bear that? Knowing how much faith she was pinning in me? Now, little faith I had in myself. Macdonald has called me a fraud. I don't believe I am, which is why I brought this action. But as to what happens next, do I go on? Do I give up? Do I even have the right to give people hope? How can I know that? How can I possibly know what I should do?
Well, yes. Thank you for that most moving speech, Mr. Croft. If nothing else, it has helped to show the jury your fine powers of persuasion. No further questions, my lord.
Are you saying, Mr. Croft, are you saying that you are quite unable to assess the validity of your own claims?
I make no claims, my lord. I never have. The events that happened may have been merely extraordinary coincidences. The only thing I know is the feeling I have had and that I have been swept along with it. But I can offer no explanation of it, no certainty. The only thing I am certain of is that I believe myself to be an honest man.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Croft. And so there can be no doubt that Mr. Macdonald libelled Mr. Croft in that radio broadcast. He called him a fake and a fraud. And Mr. Croft now says that that broadcast was very damaging to his reputation and good name, and of course it must have been. But Mr. Macdonald claims that his allegations are true. And if they are, he has a complete defence to the action for damages brought against him by Mr. Croft. So that is what you have to decide. Is Mr. Croft a fake and a fraud? Now, Mr. Macdonald has the burden of satisfying you that it is more probable than not that Mr. Croft is a fake and a fraud. And if he so satisfies you, then your verdict must be for Mr. Macdonald. If he does not so satisfy you, then your verdict must be for Mr. Croft. And you would then have to go on to assess what damages are due to Mr. Croft in compensation for his injured reputation.
Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Have you reached a verdict upon which you're all agreed? Please answer yes or no.
No.
Have a majority of you agreed upon a verdict?
Yes.
And what is that verdict? Do you find for the plaintiff or for the defendant?
For the defendant, Harry Macdonald.
The cases in Fulchester are fictitious, and our cameras return to bring you another leading case in the Crown Court.